Welcome to the Winning Hand Podcast, the podcast all about Marvel Champions, one card at a time. My name is Boomguy. I am your host. I am joined today by my trusty, faithful, helpful, friendly co-host, LazyTitan.
That's me. All those words are true.
All those words are true. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for some new cards.
This is a somewhat different episode. If you have been around for a while, you know we sometimes do episodes that are not full numbers, and we have two new cards to reveal for you today. I'm super excited. So let's just jump right into it. We are not going to talk about anything else but these cards today. It'll be a slightly shorter episode, but we want to kind of go through some of the stuff and see what they look like. So Fantasy Flight was kind enough to send us two cards to talk about today to reveal for the upcoming hero pack, Falcon. Are you excited, LazyTitan?
I'm excited. I'm excited for Falcon's cousin pack more, as I'm sure many of those who are listening could have probably guessed. But Falcon seems cool. He seems more versatile.
Yeah, he does seem super cool, and I just want to... Let's just talk quickly before we get into that. The people want to know how we feel about this wave. So there are two more hero packs yet to come. We have so far had Maria and Nick. They came in the box. Then we had Silk and Shuri. A little bit different. I feel like these last two kind of fit with Maria and Nick more thematically. Shuri and Silk kind of seem like outliers. And then we're going to have, of course, Falcon and Winter Soldier. How are you feeling about these upcoming two in relation to the four that have already released? And how are you feeling about the ones that were released?
Upcoming two, I'm excited. I'm very excited for Bucky, as I'm sure many of you can guess. He's very minion focused. He's sort of like a Rocket 1.5. I don't know if he's better or worse, but he's just a similar take on the same idea. Instead of drawing cards when you overkill, whenever you defeat an enemy, you remove 2 threat from the scheme, which is interesting, fun, very cool. He's got ways to pull minions as supports, which is a new thing, and also as an identity-specific card, which is not commonly seen. Falcon is fun. He's all about looking at the encounter deck, which we have Scarlet Witch, who's sort of that, but this is much more about looking at the encounter deck rather than just using it, which I think is cool. And then, of course, they both have synergy with some cards that I don't know if they're revealed yet or will be revealed later. I won't spoil anybody else's cards. But the current packs we have, Nick, I've talked about at length here. I love Nick. He's super fun. Maria seems really strong. Don't know if she's super fun. I've never played her. She's interesting for sure. I like where they're going with that. Of no personal events that do attack or thwart, just relying on upgrades is fitting. Silk and Shuri, kind of a random pick, it feels like, but they're cool.
Yeah,
I think Shuri is interesting redo to Black Panther, and Silk I've played. I've not played the other one. I've not played Shuri, but Silk is very complicated, but also very fun. I enjoyed her.
Well, let me ask you then, how do you think is the Winter Soldier going to be the number one for you from this wave, or is that still going to be Nick?
I feel like it's going to be the Winter Soldier. It's one of the two. I think the Winter Soldier is going to be a standout for me just because of his style.
Reasons.
Immediately fits into how I play the game anyway, and he seems quite good at it. He's got a very cool little mechanic with his arm I quite enjoy, and I also think that his events seem quite interesting. They're all decently powerful with a kicker if you spend the arm, which is a resource generator, he's got a perfect defense card, I believe, that just blocks all damage and then does some back. He's got overkill, I think, on his attack event. Very cool. Nick, I do like, and plays unique to nobody else. Nobody else really plays like Nick, which I found fun. But I'd have to try Bucky a couple times to really see for sure.
Yeah.
Right now, Nick's my favorite just because I've played him a bunch. I played him a lot at the con. He was a good time.
Yeah.
But I think Bucky's a good chance of overtaking him.
I think for me, coming in before any of them were actually released, Falcon was the one I was like really hyped about. You know, like as the reveal articles have come along, I think he's my number one hype. I think Winter Soldier's up there for me. I'm pretty excited to see how this all shakes out. If you have been following along with the reveals listeners, viewers, you will have seen a number of them. Again, we are not going to spoil people's stuff, but we are the final reveal for Falcon. That means you have seen the Discord Facebook group announcement. There was 2 cards that came out there. Then we had Brant from Step Into the Portal, Nelson over at Nelson All Over continued, and Lamano de Thanos was yesterday. And we are the final reveal. So at the end of this, we will tell you where to go for the next one if you haven't seen the schedule yet. But let's just not leave the people waiting any longer. We are the People's Podcast, and we are here for the people. So, LazyTitan, let us not delay any further, and let's just get into some cards. We have 2 cards to reveal today. We are going to reveal a support card and an ally card. We're going to start with the support today. So here it comes up on screen, and we are going to talk about it. So, LazyTitan, why don't you read this card for us? I'll read the second card for us.
Perfect. I was going to ask to read this one.
Yeah.
This is a 1-cost leadership support called a Resource Reserve. It is a location, maximum 1 per player. Any player may spend the resource card tucked here as if it were in their hand. Action, exhaust Resource Reserve, tuck 1 resource card from your hand under here to a maximum of 1. It generates a physical resource and comes in, obviously, the Falcon pack.
Yeah. So this is pretty interesting. This is a 1-cost leadership support. We have a number of those already. MedLab and Triskelion come to mind. But this is a really unique mechanical design that we've not seen before, and is super cool. So let's go through, as we always do, art, theme, power, and fun. Fun, we kind of don't always hit on these cards because we haven't actually played them yet. They're hypothetical at this point. But art-wise, why don't you explain for the viewers what is happening in this art? What are we looking at?
Looks like some kind of shut down, discontinued kind of laboratory, I'm assuming, of a shield variety. It looks like kind of
computers
built to study something in this center, which is kind of covered in blankets, and it's all dusty, and there's kind of tarps thrown over everything. But it's kind of very gray. Clearly, this thing in the center is important. It's left vague as to what that is, which I find interesting, but clearly we're supposed to imply that it's some kind of reserve of resources, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But
I don't exactly know what we're looking at, but
I like it. It's very interesting without being very colorful, which is fun. There's like 3 colors here, and all of them are just shades of gray, but it's fun. It's an interesting card to look at. There's clearly a center piece, and then this kind of story of this discontinued old lab. It looks like an older laboratory that you see, like, I don't even know what they're called, the little like tape discs in the back, these older looking computers.
Yeah.
Sort of like the lab that they made Captain America in. Could be that. Now that I'm thinking about it, it looks like a person-shaped little tube thing. Could be the machine they put him in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a comics expert.
Yeah,
but
it's hard to know. It does look like something like a statue, or it could be the thing from the movies that he was created in. Like you said, that little machine that he went in. It's kind of roughly human shaped, like a head and shoulders, and it's draped with blankets. So you can't exactly tell what it is. And it's in this lab surrounded by computers and chairs. So clearly studying or watching something, lots of cables and stuff hooked up. But it does look a little decrepit and old. So, that's kind of what we're looking at. So thematically, this is called Resource Reserve. It is a location of some scientific or studying or something like that, and you essentially get to tuck a resource card from your hand, and then anyone can use that resource card as if it was in their hand. That is crazy cool. So I love the theme of like the resource reserve that you have access to. It's not a shield location, but this is a kind of a shield wave, and so it kind of feels like could be a shieldy thing, could also be an Avengers thing or whatever. So that's kind of cool. We've not seen something like this before. This is like a first of this, and
this is a unique card style.
Yeah, and I really love that like leadership is going in this direction. Like another way to buff other people and buff other players and lead the table that isn't just playing allies. I really love that.
That I kind of always expected them to be in. One of those things that you would have always expected to be able to do better and never really could when you played leadership. But is very fun, is very interesting, and I think decently powerful from a first glance.
Well, I mean, what about the power then? How strong does this card look?
I think this card does something very interesting, which I think is kind of a hard balance to hit, which is it is a clearly multiplayer intended card that still has some utility in solo. Right? Sort of allowing that line of like mission leader and all those cards that are still good, because if you're playing solo and you have a spare resource card that you don't need, you can always just bank it for later, which is good. That is good. It's sort of like a pseudo George Stacy effect, but for resources, which is George Stacy's a good card for those who haven't played Spider for Ghost Spider. It's quite good. But also, obviously, in multiplayer, you can help people out with sort of like a helicarrier situation, or go for some crazy combos with certain heroes, because there's a lot of resource cards that have effects, like Rocket, who lets you put a tech upgrade back on top of your deck when you spend it, or Pim Particles, which doesn't do a ton for somebody who isn't Wasp or Ant-Man, but I'm sure somebody could figure that out. Maybe Rogue, who can steal traits. Or something like Avian Anatomy from Angel. Let someone else put their aerial vents back in their hand. There's a lot of resource cards that have secondary effects that this kind of opens doors to. And then obviously you can always just give somebody a double, right?
Yeah. Or things like effective leadership that boost an ally when it comes into play, so someone
also
else
very
can
good
use
to
that.
Just effective leadership, or the Standas one, the one that produces resources equal to the number of...
Band together.
That's also just useful to be able to bank it, not even just to give to somebody else, but just to hold for later. That's often a card that feels kind of awkward at times. It's kind of cool. Or even just if you're playing Captain Marvel or Hulk, you can give those triples out. Triples are good.
If you're Hulk, you can just bank your triple for when you need it. You don't have to discard it.
That means
which
you can maybe
crazy
play
good.
2 cards in one turn as Hulk.
Imagine.
Which is crazy. And for all you Hulk players out there, imagine playing 2 cards.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And like I said, there's all kinds of crazy combos you can do. I'm sure there will be more as we go on. But it's always interesting to see cards that interact with multiplayer more.
Yeah. I mean, like, immediately, like, Bishop comes to mind here, right?
Yes.
Bishop has nothing to do with a ton of resources. You can just bank one. I love what you're talking about, like, hero-specific resources. That's cool. Effective leadership is a cool one. Band together is a cool one. But, like, Jubilee has a double. Magneto has a double. Bishop has a double. Like, you can just bank your own double resources you don't need, maybe, for something else later. Like,
Domino
I don't know.
has a triple.
I think this is super cool.
Maybe you're playing a Domino in a Jubilee game, and you can bank your triple to give it to Jubilee to then ping all 3 of her kickers on her things.
Boom.
And because Domino maybe doesn't want to spend that, but just as an example, there's a lot of heroes have their own specific resource card.
Yeah.
And this just lets you play with that in kind of a fun way.
I think this is really cool. Do note, however, viewer, listener, only you can tuck the resource card. Only the owner of this. So the person who's playing leadership is the one who controls this card and can tuck it, but anyone else can spend it.
It's not plot convenience.
It's not plot convenience, which you can pass them around the table. So it is a one-way street. But again, if you're Hulk, you can just bank your triple until you need it for later. If you're anybody who has a specific resource like Domino, bank it for later.
Domino loves banking that for later. Well, she doesn't maybe want to spend it, but still same idea. And then you can bank things for later. You can give them out to other people. And then a lot of those heroes like Domino, like Bishop, who just end up having so much money they don't know what to do with it, can use this. Often if you play Domino, you end up with like 4 Digging Deeps in your hand. I don't even know how you got the 4th one. You just end up with so many because you have so much stuff to do. Or Bishop, you end up with 8 resource cards in your hand and then like a 0-cost event, and you have nothing to do with it. It doesn't help you for the other 6 or 7 resource cards, but at least it lets you bank a double for somebody else.
Yeah.
Lets you put that somewhere. And I'm sure there will be more resource cards that break this even further in the future.
And there's just those ones like the protection one that is just one, but when you spend it, you heal one from your hero. And there's the one, like those special ones. I think this may get a lot of people to look back at resource cards and kind of think about, how we're spending them. Obviously, you'd have to be playing a double aspect hero to do some of these like I'm talking about, but the Power in All of Us is just really good. That one. There's a lot of options here. And I think this is a really fun card. Like you said, it does have utility in solo, but it does seem like really, really fun in multiplayer, which is where...
least fun.
For me, the game is awesome. Yeah. I think it's really good. So what's the power of this?
I think it won't be super strong. I don't think it's going to be a card that gets played in like regularly in leadership. But I think if for anyone who wants to build a deck for something like the con, I think it'll show up a lot at the con because it's fun and it's something you can do. Any hero that has a specific resource will probably use it a lot, like Angel. Angel loves to bank that resource and also can give it out to somebody else, which is fun. And I also think it will have some combo that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head right now that will break this card, and it will be some crazy thing that everyone finds out about, and everyone will try it a couple times, and then we'll just kind of acknowledge its existence. But I think in every other deck, I think it'll just be pretty cool and never a regret.
And even in solo or even if you're just banking for yourself, it does help smooth some consistency, right? Like sometimes you put in double resources, and often you're going to make sure you have enough triggers or targets in your deck that the Power of Leadership card has a good target, for example. But sometimes you draw it and you just didn't draw something that you need it for. You didn't draw something that costs 2, or you didn't draw a leadership card, so you can just save it for later. And then it's like, oh, then you draw Maria Hill and you need the double and you slap it down. Or sometimes you play Beast, he puts a resource card back in your hand, and you're like, well, now I don't have a good target for it. Slap it here. I think this has a potential to be super strong. I don't know if it's going to be, it's not like immediately jumping out of me as an auto include. I'm not sure if there is such a thing in this game as an auto include, but I do think right away it has the potential to be really strong. It kind of strikes me as like a Triskelion, which is a card that gets included a decent amount in leadership decks, but not all the time. Like you still have to have a reason to play it, and I think it'll be the same here. I think there'll be some heroes that just like this. Bishop right away is probably just someone who likes this card a lot.
Yeah.
But other heroes have a resource
also, Maria
that they
Hill,
want to save
like
too.
You mentioned, the hero, not just the ally, because Maria Hill has that specific resource card that generates a ton for helicarriers, which means you don't have to set that up as much. You can just bank your cool resource generator, and then as soon as you draw your next helicarrier, or just get it because you're Maria Hill, you can then play your giant shield thing. So I think this card has real value.
Agreed. And I would say right off before we even have it, I'm going to give this one a real strong 8 out of 10. Just like looking forward, I think it has potential to really shake some stuff up and really be a useful card. What do you think?
I agree. It makes me want to build a pair or trio of Rogue and Ant-Man and or Wasp decks to let Rogue use that Pim particle somehow.
Okay.
Figure something out.
Let's workshop it.
Do something with that where she can obviously get the tiny and huge or tiny and giant traits. Maybe she can get that. Somehow she could get both if you flip, or I don't know. You figure it out. But there's something there, and I have an interest to try it.
Stay tuned. The Dexpert will get that to you in time.
We'll figure it out.
All right. So that's the first card. How are you feeling about the first card? Good? Ready for the second one?
I think it's cool. I'm feeling good. I'm excited for this next card.
Okay. Here comes the second card. Listeners, if you were only here to look at the cards, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But I made you wait this long. I hope it was worth it. Here is the second card. I will read it. The second card is a 5-cost ally. Woof.
We like that.
Spectrum. She is a 1 thwart, 1 attack with a 1 consequential each. 3 hit points. She is traded as Aerial and Avenger. She has a response. After you play Spectrum, tuck 1 card used to pay for her under her. If that card's printed resource has Mental, Spectrum gets +2 thwart. Physical, Spectrum gets +2 attack. Energy, Spectrum gets +2 hit points. And Wild, all of the above.
That's the kicker right wild. There. That is the kicker.
Effectively, this is a card that wants you to bank a resource card that you used to pay for her underneath her. I think that is a super interesting mechanic. That prevents things like rapid response from really having any utility here, right?
Turns off rapid response.
Leave play and come back in. That's cool. Makes recursion a little more difficult. But in her full form, right? If you pay with a wild from among the resources for her, which doesn't seem too difficult.
Seems not hard. It also doesn't say
has to
resource
be a card.
It says it has to be a card.
It cannot be Quinn Carrier, which is interesting.
It can't be Quinn Carrier, but it also doesn't have to be a resource card. It can be any card used to pay for her.
Yes.
So you can tuck.
I mean, you can use Quinn Carrier to pay for her and Helicarrier.
Yes, but the card you tuck doesn't have to be a resource card like the other one. It can just be a Digging Deep or a Resourceful or whatever.
But Resource Reserve does help here because you could bank the card that you need
and
later,
spend it.
Knowing that she's going to come in for this. And, like Power of Leadership, for example, is a wild, but will also generate 2 towards her cost, so that's a good one. But in her full form, she could potentially be a 3/3 with 5 hit points, 1 consequential each. That is a lot. That is a very
quite
beefy
good
ally.
For all of you doing the math out.
Immediately becomes one of the better Voltron targets, just off rip.
For sure. I mean, she does at minimum, right? She does at the very base layer, assuming you get the wild kicker, which I think you never don't. You don't play this card if you're not getting the kicker, and you put it in your deck if you can get the kicker reliably. Probably. You get a 5-cost ally, which is a lot, admittedly, but you just immediately get 15 damage or thwart in any combination of threes at base.
Whew.
No kickers, no anything else. No readies, no healing. And you're in leadership, which is known to never ready or heal allies. So might be hard to pull off. It seems
You're
pretty
being
good.
facetious.
I'm being facetious. It seems really good and very easy to stack on top of.
Why don't you describe the art for people who are watching?
Art is everybody's favorite light-based hero, Monica Rambeau. She is in her full spectrum outfit, just same as the card, and she's just kind of shooting at the camera in this case, or at us, the player, with some kind of flash of light. Unclear what's in the background. It looks to be space, maybe from the edges. Who knows? But she's just kind of action pose, flying at the camera, looking like she just blew something up.
Yeah, I do like the art. I feel like I've seen this before. Maybe it's from a different card, but I feel like I've seen this art before.
I feel like Spectrum,
but I like
like a lot of her cards. I do like the art though.
I do think this is an awesome card. You know, I'm thinking about the Falcon pack and the kinds of things that come in there. He has a 0-cost upgrade called Wingman, which attaches to an aerial ally, and it's an interrupt when another aerial ally would take any amount of consequential damage, exhaust the attached ally, and prevent one of that damage. So you can put Wingman on a different ally and prevent her consequential, which just keeps her alive even longer. Or anybody who's aerial who, you know.
Anybody's aerial, but Stinger's not super expensive.
There's things like Cloud9, which, you know, you exhaust Cloud9 and then all your aerial characters gain +1 thwart. So immediately then she could become a 4 thwart, which is crazy. And I think there was wasn't there, I thought there was an ally that did the same thing for attacking. I don't remember.
Believe so. Not for aerial.
Okay.
But importantly, also aerial traded, which can
Aerial
matter.
traded.
Also an Avenger, which is
Also
very good for all those Voltron characters. That means she gets access to Sky Cycle and what's the
energy claws?
The energy
claws
that just do a free damage every time it activates, which means you could potentially, with those 3 cards we just mentioned, you're thwarting for 4, dealing 1 damage twice per turn at minimum.
Wild.
Plus, if you're playing an Avenger, you get Inspiring Presence to then heal and ready her again to do it again. You obviously have First Aid.
And TBE, so team building exercise. If you're playing an Avenger, you can team building exercise, right? Remember, you don't have to pay the full cost with cards. You just have to pay. One of them has to be a card to get this.
With a card.
Or you don't need a wild. Maybe you decide, like, I'm doing a thwart heavy deck. I'm going to use Cloud9. I don't actually care about the rest of it, but I really, really want is the mental, right? Maybe you're paying a Magneto aerial deck and you use his magnetism or resource card, which has a mental and an energy. Immediately, that's all you need. You don't need the fist because you don't care about the attack or whatever.
As long as you have, that is also interesting because it does count both the resources.
Yes.
So any doubles that have different different resources are immediately more valuable. So all of those hero-based ones like Jubilee, Bishop,
Magneto's a great one immediately.
Magneto immediately is very good.
Yep.
Anybody with all those, Domino feels like a all-star for this because I think literally every single Domino card hits all 3 kickers on this because all of her cards are wild resources. And then her only one that isn't is the triple, which has all 3 of them.
I also think Captain Marvel is a great one here. She's an Avenger. Yes. She also has a ton of cards, and she has a triple energy, which is like pays for 3/5
pays for
already,
3.
and then you just pay with 1 wild, right? So
this card is also a 5 cost, so it is a pricey card to play.
Yep, but it's immediately the best 5 cost ally. I don't know. No shade at Beta Ray Bill. I do quite like Beta Ray Bill. But
I like Beta Ray Bill a lot. This is probably better.
Same.
I mean, Beta Ray Bill is a 2/3/1 consequential with 5 health, right? So he's pretty similar to this off rip.
I mean, Spectrum's
Plus he's got a kicker. Spectrum is no Heimdall, but she's actually quite useful. Beta Ray Bill is a personal favorite of mine. I don't know if he's better than this. I just like him.
I like him a lot. Yeah.
Especially because now you can do squared off with Thor to really get that going.
Thor loves her too, right?
Thor loves her.
Puts her in, squared off. Yeah. And he's
squared off for something. 2, just pay a wild. Thor doesn't have a ton of access to wild, but you can. It's not that hard to do.
Access to lightning. If he plays 1 mental, right? I don't know. I think this is an awesome card. So why don't we, we kind of talked about art and the theme. I mean, I think the theme is pretty obvious. It's Spectrum. It hits. It's powerful. I think, its power depends on the energy that you put into it. So that feels thematic to me as someone who also watched a show that Spectrum showed up in once in a while.
As a light-based hero, she has very light-based powers. Obviously, the Wild, which is the full spectrum of all colors.
Oh my gosh!
Gets
just
more
blew
colors.
my mind at that reference.
Blew my mind. Look at that. She's interesting. Fun theme. and
Digging
cool
the art, actually. Yeah, I'm digging the art.
I'm digging the art actually a lot. It's not like a ton happening, but that's kind of what I want from an ally, right? It's just very much, you look at this card, if you couldn't read any of the words on it, you would assume it's a Spectrum ally.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's nothing else on this card.
Her hair goes in front of the name shield, which is cool.
Yeah,
I love a little bit of depth there.
It's just cool art.
She really feels
Cool
like she's
art.
coming out at like really popping.
It does look like she's a little 3D.
Agreed. All right, so what would you kind of? I mean, we've talked power. This I think this card's really strong.
I think it's immediately
Where would you rate this?
At least top 3 Voltron targets.
Yeah, probably.
Just for keywords, straight abilities. It's expensive, but Voltron targets generally are, and that's what the point of them is, right? That's the idea.
Give me a rating out of 10.
Out of 10.
5 being true neutral. Where
5
do you
being
land
neutral.
on this?
As a known ally hater,
You are.
I'm going to give it an 8. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's cool. It's by no means the strongest card we've seen ever. Obviously, it's a
No.
5-cost ally, diminishes a lot of the huge power of allies. But I think it goes into the fun part of having an ally, right? It means
Yes.
that you get your cool friend who's a hero, and you get to lean into them. Whether or not you go Voltron with this is always a strong card.
Mhm.
5 cost for 15 damage is a good card, and I think a lot of people lose that simple math of allies. 5 for 15 is good. I would play that in any aspect, but leadership also wants it. You can also split it and do it in sets of 3. 5 for 15 thwart is even better.
Yeah, true.
It's just a very efficient card and very cool.
I think this hits kind of how I think you want allies to be, right? I want allies to feel like an investment. I want them to feel like something I want to keep around. I don't feel super heroic when I shove them in front of the next attack that comes my way.
Especially when it's Professor X.
I mean, there's a lot of targets that just get pushed in front of a bus, right?
Nick
Some
Fury,
encourages
Professor
you.
X.
Nick and Professor are encouraged to be pushed in front of a train. No, but I like that this feels like an investment. I want to juice it for all it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm immediately going to give her a 9. I'm very excited about this card. I think this card has a lot of potential. I think there's a lot of fun things that could happen here. The game of trying to get the resources is cool.
I think this is an all-star and a Star-Lord deck.
Ooh.
Star-Lord makes her a Guardian. Then you can play Guardians of the Galaxy to then get a bonus every time you play an upgrade on her. She's an Avenger, so she can still get Sky Cycle. And he helps you cut the cost of that 5, so you just have to pay 1 wild.
Star-Lord makes her a 4th thwart.
Makes her a 4 thwart
20
also.
thwart?
20 thwart at base. Plus
Mine
you get
is
Sky
loan.
Cycle. And you get all the Guardian things. You get the +1 more
Comms
thwart.
implant.
Comms
5
implant.
thwart.
Puts it 5 thwart. And then you can just keep stacking stuff all the way. She's got
I love that.
2 more hit points from Reinforced Suit. She's got +1/+1 from Inspired. She's got that 6 thwart. So then
God.
at base with those 2 upgrades, she's doing
30
thwart.
30
That's
thwart.
the whole main screen for the whole game. If you're playing 1 to 3 players, probably.
That's a good point. I think
Star-Lord
Star-Lord immediately. But Thor, I love Thor, squared off. It's going to get you a minion. It's going to reduce the cost of her. Immediately helps with some of his thwarting issues, which can be a problem. I think as Captain Marvel right away. I haven't gone back to Captain Marvel in a while. Right away, thematically it fits. Makes me kind of want to go back and then, check it out. But Ariel, all the Ariel stuff.
The Ariel cards,
excited
the ones
by this
that,
card.
I forget what it's called now. Ariel, or is it Aerial Dominance, the ready 3 aerial characters, also pretty good here.
Air Superiority, I want to say. Yeah.
But yeah, and then all those aerial themed cards from the Angel Pack, all those cards. Falcon. Also, I'm thinking Spider-Woman for that multi-aspect ability, so you can then throw all the aggression aspect ones and all the other stuff. I think this is a very buildable card and will be the centerpiece of the deck it's in. Also, an Avenger, which means Call for Aid finds it.
Yeah.
Which is huge for any Voltron deck. That is the main weakness of Yondu.
I mean, Suit Up does that now, too. Suit Up
we
grabs.
have Suit Up now.
Yeah.
But the main weakness of Yondu historically as a Voltron ally has been that you can't find him regularly, whereas that's why Iron Man is another favorite, has been that. So, findable, powerful, consistent, and scalable.
And fun, yeah.
That's what you want.
I think last card I'll mention with this one is the 2-cost team support that's coming with Falcon, which is Flight Squadron. And you can only play it if your identity has the aerial trait. And then if each of your allies has the aerial trait, you increase your ally limit by 1. And this card gains response after you play an aerial card, exhaust this, and ready an ally you control. So right away, that has some utility there. I'm super excited for this. I really think both of these cards look great. I want to just take a quick opportunity to thank Fantasy Flight for sending some cards over. We're super happy to share them. I would love to hear, either in the comments, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know which card are you more excited for, and give me some build ideas that we didn't throw out there, because I'm super excited to kind of toss these around in my brain, think about the cards. And if you're listening to this, if you're not on YouTube, email me, winninghandpodcast@gmail.com, or hit me on Discord, Boomguy, and I'd love to hear about this card. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Please let me know. I'm super excited to talk about this card. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us for the reveal. The next card, or the next card reveal, I should say, is going to be with a YouTube channel called Never Bored Gaming. That's BORED, Never Bored, as in, never disinterested.
Good pun.
Yeah, it's very punny. They are not a traditional Marvel Champions channel. They have done some content, I think, in the past, but they are revealing some cards. So go check them out. I will leave a link down below. And thank you to La Mano de Thanos for kind of teeing us up and sending people our way in their reveal yesterday. We're super excited for these cards. I'm super excited for these packs. I hope you are too. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Later.